Golf Podcast, presented by Golficity, where we bring you the tips, instruction, and support you need to get the most out of your golf game. And now your hosts, Frank and Mike.
All right, Mike, so you know how most episodes we talk about how we're going to try to find a way to save some people some strokes?
Yeah.
We're going to mix it up. We're going to save some people some money this episode.
Okay.
All right, that's going to be my goal. I want to save everybody a couple bucks as we're going to talk about upgrading your golf clubs, how often to do it, when to wait, when not to wait. So I think you'd be surprised by some of what we're going to talk about. And if you're the type of person who's always chasing the latest equipment and your budget's like through the roof, we might show you some tricks so you can hold off a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that. Before we do, though, this episode of the Golf Podcast is sponsored by Health IQ. Health IQ advocates for a health-conscious lifestyle by using science and data to get lower rates on life insurance for people who exercise 4 times a week, whether it's cycling, weightlifting, swimming, running, you name it. You can get a special rate on life insurance with Health IQ if you qualify through the Health IQ quiz.
To learn more about Health IQ and receive a free quote, go to healthiq.com/golf. That's healthiq.com/golf.
Mike, so I was following along, man. You were out there today. Hot day,
Yeah.
First hot day of the year, but I was watching on Snapchat.
It was hot. It was an outing that I do every year, a charitable outing up in your area, actually, up in the Warwick region. Beautiful day, as you mentioned. It was a scramble. I like scrambles. They have its pros, they have its cons. I mean, I like the team aspect, getting together with a bunch of guys and trying to win a competition together. That's a good part. I mean, of course, the charity, that you're playing for is first and foremost, because today I was playing for a great cause. But it's fun. Everyone's kind of loose out there. The beer is flowing. The food is plentiful everywhere you look. So that's why outings are great. My biggest thing is I had a guy on my team today, Frank. I don't know if this ever happened in a scramble type format. He was like the excuse guy. So every time he hit a bad shot, he'd say, well, I knew you were safe in the middle of the fairway, so I just kind of gripped it and ripped it. I'm like, meanwhile, I want to say to him, dude, you just pretty much just sucked on that shot. Just be honest,
Right.
It wasn't a mistake, but it was fun. But my other big thing, Frank, 6 hours on the course.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was long. I mean, this course in particular was a 9-hole course with 2 sets of tee boxes.
Yeah.
Pretty strange. So there was like a maybe 3-group backup on every single.
But it can't be a huge outing on a 9-hole course. I mean, how many can you stack per hole?
There was 3 on each hole. 3 foursomes.
Come on.
It was ridiculous. But you know what? They serve you beer, shrimp, clams, oysters like all day long just to keep you happy, I guess.
That's a home run.
Yeah, so you can't complain there.
But yeah, those are rough. And when you get a scramble format too, often you get a lot of people who don't play golf. So
Right.
it's really slow. I played in a scramble. I played a scramble I think it was last season, and these guys do not play. It was like a corporate outing type of thing. And we're about to tee off, and this one guy rolls up, no joke, on a motorcycle. He's got, this is no kidding. He's got just like it looks like a bag you would get for like kids, like a small bag, maybe 6 clubs in it. He's got it
Right.
around his back, right? And he's got a cooler strapped to it too. So I think he knew where his priorities were,
Right.
but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if he was hitting the sauce before he even got there, but then because he came in late, everyone obviously is watching, seeing this guy rolling in on a motorcycle with his golf club, and in the parking lot, he drops the bike.
Oh, nice.
And we're like, here we go. The clubs, you can imagine the clubs slide out,
Right.
And then he's like, he didn't drop the beer though,
Okay.
but, the clubs slide out, and then he goes, I'm like, oh, that was the first sign. Like, this is going to be a long day.
Yeah, for sure. So he wasn't part of your foursome.
No, he wasn't in my foursome. I don't know
Okay.
where he was out there. We were like on the first tee ready to go because that's right by the parking lot. And that's when we saw him roll in, and everyone's like, look at this.
That's great.
Yeah, that was something. But yeah, you get that sometimes at some of these scrambles and stuff, but they're fun too. It's fun to get out there. But I was following along on Snapchat. Everybody out there who hasn't had a chance to do that yet, check us out. Just go to Golficity, Snapchat, Instagram. It's kind of a little behind the scenes stuff. Mike and I always take that stuff over whenever we go out on the course and try to put some fun stuff together. We're playing next week?
Yeah, we're going to play Wednesday at a very hilly course with lots of high elevation.
That's cool.
But we got this drone we have to use. We got to talk about this because I'm pretty stoked to use it. I know it's going to be extremely distracting. Ever since we started snapping, tweeting, Instagram all day, my game has gone completely out the window.
Yeah, right. Of course.
So I need to focus more, Frank. I'm sorry, but I'm excited for the little gadgets we have because it's fun, man. We have a lot of fun.
This is going to be cool. And then when we posted the last story in our Facebook group, everyone's asking the same question. Like, does it annoy the people you play with that you guys are like snapping these stories? And like, no, they because we do it so quick and so easy, but we might turn a corner when we start pulling this drone out.
Yeah, we have to.
I don't want to piss anybody off, but it's going to be fun. I mean, we get some nice flyover shots. We got to have fun out there. Why not?
We have to make friends with the guys we're teamed up with before we go out.
Yeah, that's
the
maybe
best way
buy
to
them
sell it.
around and be like, let's just do this thing.
Let's buy him a beer.
But if you're not doing so already, definitely follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, Snapchat, and the other cool thing we got going. We talk about it every week because it's just great. It's a lot of fun. Is our Facebook group. Just search the Golf Podcast on Facebook, or you can go now to the Golficity Facebook page, and we linked it there as well, so you can get to the group. A lot of cool stuff going on in the group. Especially, I love seeing everybody's kind of sharing like. It's really like hitting its stride this season for a lot of people. So a lot of people getting out there. I feel like it was a little bit quiet. We were all talking about can't wait to get out there all winter. And now it's just like everybody's hitting the course, and it's just great to see. Mike, I saw you posted some pictures of that new putting green you have in the office. I
was going to mention that. Yeah. Our friends over at tourgreens.com, they sent me this putting green. It's 10 feet by 4 feet. It's perfect in my office. It's, the perimeter has the artificial rough, and I could just practice. I can add some undulations by stuffing some things in there. It's pretty cool, very high quality, and it looks good in the office. It's like in a perfect spot for it. My wife wanted me to put a pull out couch for guests.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, it does. This is perfect for a putting green. I mean, this is a golf themed office. It needs a putting green. Now I just need some historic photos on the wall from like old school golf, pros and things like that. And then my project here in this office is complete. But the putting green, Frank, this thing is sick. You have to come check it out.
I got to check it out. I love the pictures because I've never had success with putting greens. I mean, I've gotten a couple before, and I feel like they roll up, right? And I feel like they never unroll flat again. I got one right now in my basement. I figured, all right, I'll leave it there for a while. I left it for like 2 weeks. I figured it would flatten out. It still hasn't. Because I had it it shipped to me all rolled up, but yours looks perfect.
Yeah, it rolled out. It stayed that way. It's super high quality. You like the fake bunkers in the water?
I do. I had to bust your chops a little bit.
Yeah, you dug
that water hazard.
Right.
That's funny. But really cool stuff. But anyway, I want to talk about equipment tonight. So let's do a quick word from our sponsor, and then let's jump right into it. Hey guys, you know the USGA mostly for their 14 annual championships and competitions. The US Open is right around the corner, and their championships are widely looked upon as the ultimate tests in golf. But there's a lot more about the USGA you may not know.
Yeah, Frank, the USGA's innovation team has just come up with a resource management app that helps course superintendents know how to better allocate their resources, and it helps ensure a better playing experience for all golfers. Plus, the USGA's handicap system helps level the playing field and makes the game more social.
Yeah, and along with the RNA in Scotland, the USGA is modernizing the game's rules. They're even asking everyone out there for feedback on all the new proposed rules, and you can share that feedback with them online anytime. There's a lot to love about golf, and the greatness of the game brings out the best in all of us. Discover more at usga.org. All right, Mike, so you know the itch. We all get it, right? To upgrade your golf clubs. And how could you not? I mean, you turn on Golf Channel for 10 minutes and you're going to be bombarded with commercials, latest, greatest, more distance, flashier, more adjustments, everything possible. And the wheels get turning in your head, especially if you're struggling with something. You're like, oh, this might fix this or this might fix that. It's hard to stay away from it, but I don't know. What's your thinking? Are you the type of guy who feels like you're always chasing and changing equipment? Do you pick something and stick with it? Like, what's your take there?
Well, I've been playing the same irons for the last 5 seasons. So that's got to tell you something. I mean, I don't change that often. Probably should. Again, we'll talk about tonight because that's the topic. Should I be? Should I be in the store tomorrow trying to get new clubs?
Well, there's a little bit of both sides of it, and that's what we want to talk about, because if you were to follow what the advertising says, that's what you'd be led to believe, right? You'd be led to believe like, wait, last year's stuff is out. This is it now. Or sometimes, as crazy as it sounds, it's not even last year anymore. I'm seeing some of the major, I mean, I don't want to name any names here because of the fact that I don't want to rag on them. They do what they do. And all the major manufacturers make excellent clubs. I'll give you that. No doubt. I don't feel like there's anybody being scammed here, but what we're trying to do is, again, we live on a budget. You know, we don't have unlimited funds, so you got to use your money wisely. But I've seen some of these guys come out with, it seems like 2 or even 3 new drivers in the same season. And it's like,
right.
I feel like I can't even catch up. Be like, wait, I thought this was the latest and greatest. What's this? You know, when we watch the PGA Tour and then the news surrounding who's got the new driver in their hands or whatever it may be. Just so much change out there. So we got to kind of disseminate what's good, what's bad, what really is, you know, change that you should be keeping an eye on, and what's something that you'd be like, all right, that's just kind of hype. So one thing, and if you keep one common thread through everything we're going to talk about here, it's that you want to make sure whatever set of clubs you land on, try to err on the side of forget what other people are playing, forget what you hear, forget all that stuff, and just go with whatever ends up giving you the most confidence when you're out there. You know, and I think that's a hard part too. Some people, like, they stay away from certain brand names because they, you know, if it's not a big brand name, they don't want people like ragging on them and saying like, what is that? What are you playing? You know, but at the end of the day, it's whatever gives you confidence. Forget it. It's just like any other part of your game. Just tune everything else out and just look for something like that. And don't go with and buy a name brand just because it's a name brand. If you put it in your hands, you swing it, you hit it, and it doesn't work for you, move on. You know, don't try to make it work. So that's a big important one. I feel like I've never been the type of person to just kind of chase the names. I've mixed it up too. Have you always played the same manufacturer?
No, I've been all over the place, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
My bag is like a soup with every ingredient from the cabinet, you know? So, but the thing about my game or my clubs, I should say, is, I just don't know if it's me or the club. So do I need the upgrade? I mean, I take an example like TaylorMade, awesome, probably the leader in drivers on the market.
Yeah.
So they come out with the M1, the M2 now, but if you go back like 4 or 5 drivers ago, it was the R11 or whatever it was.
Right.
If I go to the store, Frank, and I buy the R11 and I buy the M2 and I go out and hit 10 drives each, I think I'm going to have the same outcome.
That's the thing. Here's the thing. We asked the question, and we talk about these top line drivers, right? These like $500 clubs. You know, do you really need, and this is where I'm talking about saving you some money. Do you really need to spend $500 on a new driver after you just bought a $500 driver a year ago? The answer is a definitive no. Look, at the end of the day, these equipment companies, they are companies. They're there to make a profit. Okay. And they're going to do their best through marketing to lead you to believe that the clubs, you know, the performance of the club they're offering now is so much better. But when you really come down to it and really break it down, think about this logically. Do you really think that the performance of a club that came now versus one that came out 6 months ago, a year ago, even 2-3 years ago, do you think that performance is that significantly different that it's worth throwing more money at it? And I'm going to tell you no. I'm going to argue no. Right. And one big reason for that is you got to remember this. Any of the clubs that you're going to play, the major name brands, the ones that you're going to actually put in play, they have to be USGA conforming, which means they have to be set out limited to those rules that the USGA puts out there. Now, there are certain things and changes they can make within those limitations. But what I'm saying is there's nothing as far as a huge, crazy, major breakthrough, especially year to year, that's going to make such a significant change. A lot of it, again, it comes down to marketing. You want to feel like you're playing the club that your favorite pro is playing, or you want to play the club that everyone's talking about, or you take it out at the course and everyone's asking you about it. It's like, oh, is that the new XYZ? You know, but sure, some new things have come out like the adjustable drivers and stuff like that. But that's been on the market for a while now. Just because someone's got a slightly different change in the adjustment or something like that, it does not make a huge difference. So what you are led to believe is that you're going to turn those 200 yards into drives into 300-yard bombs just because you purchased the latest driver. And I'm going to make a strong argument that's just not going to be. So could you see a quote unquote dramatic, when I say dramatic, I mean maybe 20 more yards, difference if you let's say I've been playing with a club, a driver that's 15 years old and bought the latest, then yes, I could see that. You can make that case to me, but you're just not going to make the case if you say, I bought the 2016 model and now I'm going upgrading to the 2017 model, because at the end of the day, with the idea that they always have to conform to that same set of USGA rules, there's just no huge difference year over year. Mm-hmm. So I would make that argument of saying, wait on it. Don't just rush out to buy something just because of what you hear. I always think I'm a strong proponent of always testing. I see a lot of times, a lot of these, major retailers now, they have them all in stock, and a lot of them, they let you hit them. Down by where I used to live, where you are, down in Paramus, right? They've got that awesome PGA Superstore that's not too far from you. Mm-hmm. And then you've got all those bays. You can go out, you can hit clubs, and each one of them has, the simulator in there where you can really take a look at your distance and stuff like that. I like that for the idea of if you see the latest and greatest club and you want to get down there and hit it. But the thing I want you to be looking for, not that it's going to be a magic wand, more so that does that club give you a little bit more confidence in the other club? Because you know what we all hate? What's that buyer's regret? You get down the store, you swing a couple times, you're feeling good. It looks like you're squeezing a couple more yards out of it. You buy it. And then for the next month, you're saying, I can't hit this thing. I'm going back to my old club. You know what I mean? Right. So it's just, there's a lot of factors to consider rather than just chasing the latest and greatest.
Yeah, and the one thing I'm struggling with, I actually went to that store not too long ago, and I just put in maybe a 25-minute, I guess, fitting session, we'll call it. I went up to the guy and I said, I'm looking to upgrade my irons, this year, maybe next year. I just have no idea what I need to look at. So we, of course, hopped in a simulator, hitting a bunch of shots. He was looking at my swing. And the clubs that I wanted to buy, they were last year's model. I forget the brand, if it was Nike Vapor or the one before the Vapor. This is when Nike was still doing clubs, I guess. And it was $299 for the whole set. I was like, this is perfect. It's a great replacement. Right. I've used Nike clubs before. I like them. And he was telling me that with my swing speed, I need to play more of a different type of shaft. Anyway, the price went up from $299 to $799. So I was, I agreed with him because he was the pro and he was showing me all the data on the screen. So he wasn't making this stuff up. I don't think he was trying to sell me on it. But to myself, Frank, I was trying to sell myself. Will this extra $500, by the way I played today, is it going to change something tomorrow?
Well, here's the thing. And the fact of the matter is, yes, they do start with like that base model of the clubs. Usually it's the lowest price to kind of get you in the door. And sometimes you end up spending a little bit more. But the argument I would make is, again, what we're trying to say is don't chase clubs year after year. I have no problem with investing $500, $600, $700 in a set of irons, because in the back of my mind, what I'm thinking is, I'm going to be playing these clubs minimum 5 years. I'll usually stretch a set of irons out 7 years. So knowing that, I'm like, what's that average over $100 a year? Mm-hmm. Now it would be a different decision if I'm like, okay, I'm buying a $800 set of sticks this season and I'll be back here again next April for the next set of sticks. It's just not going to happen that way.
Right.
So it doesn't make it, to me, it's a fine investment knowing if you can put some comfort in saying, like, no matter what the marketing is going to shoot at me, I'm not chasing the latest and greatest, because ultimately it's not that big of a difference. And think of it this way. If you really want to work it out and think about the game in general, no matter way you put it, 90% of the performance you have on the course comes down to your skill, your preparation, your technique, the stuff we talk about here every episode, getting out there, putting the work in, grinding, all that stuff. The equipment might make up about 10% of that. And the proof of that is this. At the end of the day, you could take a pro, any pro, right? Put a set of sticks in his hands that's, I don't know, 10, 15 years old. Trade it with, you think your sticks are pretty worn out? Trade with him. And I guarantee he'll still beat you.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
You could have the shiny off the rack, whatever, greatest stuff. So it just proves that if you're really going to put your focus, time, and energy into something, it's going to be into grinding, practicing, getting out there more so than it's going to be into this. And I forget it. I don't even want to paraphrase it because I'm so far off, but I remember one of the more legendary pros had said, like, basically you could hit anything, off the rack and hit it well, and it's just true. At the end of the day, sure, if you're a pro, you may have to make some adjustments because it's a clubs you're not necessarily comfortable with normally hitting, but it's just not going to make that big of a difference. It's not going to be a major stroke or distance change that's worth chasing it all the time.
I think at the end of the day, Frank, for me, it would be a confidence booster. I think having new clubs is like having a new toy. It's having something new, something to look forward to, something to excite you again about the game, maybe gets you to the range more often. If anything, it could be a refresher.
It could amp you up, but there's also the other side of that. It could go against your confidence because now it's something unfamiliar in your hands.
Right.
Because that's like what I was saying before. How many times you heard people say, like, I don't know if I can hit these things as brand new clubs. Like, I want to go back to my old clubs. I was comfortable with those.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like getting that confidence. And I think where that comes from is when you upgrade, having it be not so much chasing the latest and greatest, but more so upgrading because you're starting to feel less confident in the clubs you have because of their wear. Right. Because at the end of the day, that is a reality. Clubs are not going to last you forever. You do have to pay attention to wear and tear. Now, but this is not something that's going to happen one season to the next. You get a lot of guys who maybe get 10, 12 rounds in a season. I would argue those clubs are barely broken in, 10, 12 rounds. And then the next year is like, whoa, what's this? They got to go get it. So you got to be wise about it. You got to not constantly do that chase for the next thing, but you do have to pay attention to your wear and tear. And you need to be purchasing new equipment based on the needs you see within your set. So remember, the golf clubs will wear, but there's a lot of things that you can do that keep them faring a little better longer. Wiping them down after each round. If you don't want to leave your clubs dirty for days and days, dirty, wet, whatever, where any type of rust or anything like that can be built up. This is where you protect your investment. Again, being smart. If you do lay down some good money for clubs, you want to do that. But it's a lot like replacing, tires on your car. Sure, you can get slightly better performance out of your car by buying new tires, but you're not going to buy them for that purpose alone. You're also going to buy them because your old tires are wearing out. Same idea with golf clubs. So as your sticks start to wear out, you can take a look at the market, take a look at what's suitable, what looks like it's something that's going to give you that confidence. It's going to last you a while. And then you're taking advantage of the quote unquote latest and greatest technologies. But again, the technology is not going to change hugely over year. Long span, 15 years, sure. I talk about a lot on the podcast how I had played a lot when I was younger, gave up the game all through college and starting my career after that. And then I returned to it. When I returned to it, the clubs that I had were the old bubble shaft TaylorMade. It was about 15.
Yeah, I remember those
16-year-old set.
Mm-hmm.
I still played with them for a full season saying like, I'm not going to invest in anything yet. I want to make sure where's my swing right now? Get my swing back. And then I slowly worked it back in. But that's what I mean, where you may start to see those difference. But if you need further proof, I think the biggest proof is the fact that you hear that stat thrown out there all the time that over the spectrum, in the past 40, 50 years of all amateur golfers, the average handicap has not gone down. And you think about how much innovation, now we're talking about 50 years, how much innovation there's been in clubs, and yet all that equipment change, and it's not, we haven't seen a vast difference in the way amateurs play the game. They still come in about the same thing. So if you don't need any further real proof than that, but that's not to be said that there isn't still better technology, to a certain extent. It's just not leaps and bounds. And I think what you have, if anything now, you have more variation. Whereas before there was maybe, 1, 2, 3 different manufacturers making a couple different sets of club, and the same thing with balls. Now you've got a wide range within manufacturers, outside of manufacturers, with adjustable clubs, with fitted clubs we talked about, and the same thing with golf balls. So much technology as far as different variations. I think I'd rather put the work into, instead of whatever the flashy thing is, put the work into finding what fits you best.
Yeah,
it took me 3-4 seasons to find a golf ball that really fit me well, and realizing I like to play a soft ball, going with the Callaway, the Chrome Soft. Although some of the people in the Facebook group have recently been turning me on to the Vice ball, which I want to try that as well. But that's what I mean. Every once in a while, you can make these little tweaks because there's more things, but don't expect one is going to just be like, boom, different game next time out. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. You're absolutely right.
So speaking of that wear and tear, remember there's going to be different clubs that wear and tear at different rates. Usually wedges, drivers, those are like the first to go. That's very often why you see most sets are made up of all matching, as you said, it's like a cornucopia in there, but all matching irons and then different drivers and wedges. Well, it's, there's also more variation, things like that, but, wedges need to be replaced when the grooves wear out, and drivers, they can go dead over time. I've also heard on the other side of that drivers get better with every strike until the last one. Somebody had told me that what happens is that face, the idea is to make the face as thin and strong as possible. And they said with every strike, that face is compressed a little bit thinner, the metal on that face. And I forget which one of the pros, one of the local golf courses told me this. He's like, eventually you're going to hit it and the face is going to crack. Most people replace their driver before that happens, but they say the last hit you have before that face cracks is going to be the most powerful one, because the fact that it's just gotten thin enough that it's like a little springboard.
Wow.
So that was really cool. But again, things like drivers, that stuff's going to be changed a little bit more frequently. I would say maybe on the order of every 3-4 seasons, maybe, but not every season.
Yeah. Right.
Long irons, on the other hand, that might last you many, many years because they're rarely used. And as for your putter, putters aren't going to wear out. You take care of it properly. You could literally use a putter for the rest of your life. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to do things like small adjustments, like, cleaning it up, changing the grip every once in a while. The only other area where you need to keep in mind and keep, this in the back of your head, and a reason why you might want to make a change before your clubs wear out, is understand the fact that your fit, it can and it will change. So you want to make sure that you're changing your golf clubs every once in a while when you need to change your fit. That's why we talked about before, and I'm not going to dive into the whole thing again, but the benefits of getting a fitting, they're so widely available now. They're so, not costly as they used to be. So you never know. Something might have changed. Maybe you picked up 10 more miles an hour in your swing speed because you've been grinding week in and week out, and your game is getting better. Maybe on the other side, you're getting a little bit older. You're losing some swing speed. Maybe you're losing some flexibility. In those cases, especially if you're playing fitted clubs, they may not fit you as well. Now, this is again, not something I think is going to change from one season to the next, but over a couple seasons, it might change. So it doesn't hurt every once in a while. Pay attention to that. Sometimes, again, even this, trying to save you a little bit of money, it doesn't mean you got to change the whole set, or it means you have to get all new clubs. Sometimes it's as simple as going for a fitting and swapping out the shafts. Swap out the shaft on your driver, different things like that. A lot of these clubs, especially ones that are fitted clubs, have that ability, and you can go to a good club fitter and they'll be able to keep them. Sometimes they can fix the grooves even on your wedges, you breathe new life into them, all those types of things. So that can be really big. But whatever the case, changing, club fitting, it needs to be a logical reason to spend money on the new gear. It's not just because you saw the latest commercial. All right. An important lesson to take away from this article is that you just don't need to run out and buy new clubs just because you saw them on TV, or you see like Dustin Johnson switch and he's playing a new club. And you look at that. Look at Dustin Johnson's stats year over year. This is another good one. I'm just thinking this as I go here. Off the top of my head, I don't have the stats. I can't pull them up, but DJ is playing, he's playing whatever the latest and greatest is every year, because he's, part of his contract right now, he's with TaylorMade. That's what's going to happen. They're going to put the newest club in his hands. Look and see if his driving average has changed year over year.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And again, not picking on the club manufacturers. I know they have a job to do, but when you see these commercials and they're saying 20 more yards, 10 more yards, whatever it may be. Well, okay. If the pro has that in his hands, then why don't I see his driving average this season being 20 more yards more than last season, and 20 more yards more than the season before, and 20 more the season before?
Right.
And we'll get to a point where Dustin Johnson's hitting 450 yards drives if we keep going that way. So it just tells you a little bit of something. So remember, there are times to invest in new clubs. Watch the condition of your clubs. Make sure they're in good playing condition. Make sure they fit you right. But if you do that, it's okay to make that investment knowing it's going to last you quite a few seasons. And then remember, it is an investment. Take care of it. If you take care of it, it's going to last you longer. So hopefully that advice is able to talk some people off that ledge where that got that credit card is burning a hole in their pocket. They're like, I got to get this latest one.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you just bought the driver last year. That's the type of thing I'm trying to help you guys avoid. So hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it's great advice. It's great advice for sure.
Yeah. And I want to hear you guys' thoughts on it. Cause obviously a lot of this, we've put a lot of thought into this, but there's some opinion here too. So if you have an opinion, we want to hear it. Post it in the Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search the Golf Podcast. If you're not already part of our group, I want to hear it. Let me know, like, what's your take on how quickly you like to change your clubs? Or if somebody's been playing the same set for a really long time, that'd be cool to hear. Maybe we can get a thing going in the group. See who's been playing the same clubs for the longest.
Oh, I like that.
Post a picture of your clubs. Maybe like I'm sure somebody out there has got their baby that they just don't want to
Hickory
let go
wood
of.
shafts.
If somebody goes back that far, I think we'll send them a hat or something, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That'd be something interesting. So do that. Let us know. Post them in the group. We want to hear them. That'd be some cool stuff. Before we wrap things up tonight, once again, I want to thank our sponsor, the USGA. You may know the USGA mostly for its championships, but did you know the USGA is working to modernize golf's rules by making them easier to understand and apply? And they're working with golf facilities to help reduce their dependence on critical resources, including a reliance on water. Plus, the USGA's handicap system is used in more than 40 countries around the world.
There's a lot to love about golf, and the greatness of the game brings out the best in all of us. So discover more at usga.org.
Okay, so again, before we wrap it up, this episode obviously drops on Sunday. Make sure if you're listening to us on iTunes, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be the first to get notified and hear it when the podcast comes out. But on Wednesday, we're going to hit the links. So follow us on Snapchat and on Instagram. You can follow along as we go, and then we'll try to put that story together and post it in the group. It's just us out there having a good time, having some fun.
Yeah, we're going to have fun.
So I'm looking forward to that. I've never played that track, so that should be a really good time getting out there. Also, if you listen to us on iTunes and if you hadn't had a chance to do that yet, please take a second to leave us a quick review. We love hearing from you guys, and it's the greatest way for us to grow the show and share it with more people. The reviews really do help. They really do matter. So that's everything we have. Good luck. Post those pictures. Let us know about your equipment in the Facebook group, and we'll talk to everybody again next week.